Mm. Greetings, 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 good people. So sorry for the delay. We had a little bit of technical thing going on. You know, sometimes this technology doesn't want to cooperate, but we're here and I'm excited. I am your host, Risikat, Kat Okedeyi, and this is One-on-One Live. And, you know, this started off as an ode to to the pandemic and being stuck in the house and not really knowing what was going to happen and having amazing conversations with like all of the creatives, my friends and colleagues that, you know, I ride with. And it's now turned into like a whole thing. And I just realized that we probably should do an anniversary show because this month, I got to go back and look. I think we started it either this month or next month. So I'll figure it out and I'll get back to you. But that is not why you're here. You're here today because I am talking with one half of the dynamic duo that is SHAOLIN JAZZ. Unfortunately, Gerald Watson couldn't join us, but I'm excited because he's got great COVID hair and we're going to get all in his business. DJ Two Tone Jones, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up, Kat?
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm COVID free and healthy, and you know, I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah. The COVID hair still in effect. You know.
I'm loving the COVID hair. And we're going to talk about that because COVID hair is, you know, we've all grown in ways thanks to COVID. So, you know, hair might be one of those things that I think is the most fun. So we always start the show with a very simple question. Well, it's not simple, but how are you today in this moment?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Today actually for us what's kind of cool is and thank you so much for having me. But today is actually the 10-year anniversary of SHAOLIN JAZZ. So we actually started everything. It dropped our first mixtape project dropped April 11th, 2011.
Yes.
So that's when everything started. And so yeah, it's, you know, to have even made it to this point, I'm blessed, happy. Everybody's healthy, we're doing good, and we got some more cool things on the horizon. So today's a good day, in the infamous words of Ice Cube.
10 years. That's dope. I don't think I realized it was that long because
we barely didn't too. I mean,
you were like carry the one. Oh shucks. Okay. Yeah.
So I looked at like old e-posters Gerald had put out, and I was like, wait a minute, 2011. Like, oh shoot, yeah. So time flies, you know, when you're having fun. So,
and you all have. So we're going to talk about sort of the, you know, the making of the superheroes that are, you know, SHAOLIN JAZZ. I know a lot of people know you all now for the Kung Fu classics, the sort of this hybrid movie experience where you create this amazing score with the turntables and we watch, and it's always enjoyable. It's such a fun time just to be able to go, especially if you're a Gen Xer and you grew up with Sunday Kung Fu. Like it's just it's a whole amazing vibe.
Yeah.
But before all of that, before the visual experience, it was a completely audio experience. So take us back to the back to the beginning. Like why? Like how? What was the impetus that brought this to life?
Yeah, it was so I would say two things. One of, you know, the thing that really just kind of started it off for us, or like just really planting the seeds over the years, was really my relationship, kind of creative business you know, relationship with Gerald Watson. And we actually first met back around, like, I want to say it was almost like 2004 maybe or so. A couple years after I moved to DC, first started getting into DJing. Randomly was connected to him through a close friend of mine who actually doesn't even live in DC, but was working with Frank Magazine.
Okay. Yep.
And you know, for folks around the area, around the way that know Gerald, he was like the Frank guy, you know, Connect. Really dope magazine. So yeah, we connected just random. I mean, yeah, we just kind of hit it off just from the jump. I started DJing at some of the events that he was doing, and then we started doing events together. And that has its own kind of, history of things in terms of like the AM radio stuff we were doing. And so yeah, fast forward, Gerald was doing put together a series called The Classics. And The Classics, what it was like an album cover art exhibition where he took different genres of music, and that was the theme, for each one was a different genre of music. So let's say it would be jazz, and he would go to a local DJ and basically use part of their album collection, and he would select anywhere from 50 to 60 record covers. And then over at the venue, Lounge of Three. Put the album covers along the walls on both floors. DJ would be there spinning music. And then it was really kind of a twofold experience, because the other part of it was not just the event itself, but it was also the information he was kind of like posting on his blog page about the genre. And he would interview, people, that were involved in some degree. So a lot of times he happened to interview people that were like album cover designers or work with record labels. So he did this for reggae. He did it for rock, funk, hip hop. And then also for each one, he usually would ask me if I could, maybe put together like a mix of music to go to accompany it, that he could also kind of push and promote online as he's promoting the in-person kind of exhibition. So all that to say, once he got the jazz, he happened to interview a guy named Logan Mills Walters, who is a graphic designer. And Logan, what was kind of cool, put together this series where he took different Wu-Tang album covers and flipped them and gave them a kind of a Blue Note jazz aesthetic to him. And he called the series Wu Notes, really clever. And when Gerald interviewed him, he was like, he's like, yo, I actually just did this just to have some cool visuals to go along with the Wu-Tang music in my iPod. Like that's the whole reason he created the series. So I guess in the conversation, and Gerald hadn't, we hadn't yet talked about the little compilation mix for the jazz one, which was the last one in his series. But in the discussion, came up the idea of like a jazz and Wu-Tang mixed project, because I think Logan had also created the cover for a mixtape where someone had mashed up Beatles and Wu-Tang.
Yeah. Okay.
So Gerald saw that and he's like, well, hey, have you ever done one for like a jazz Wu-Tang mix? And he's like, no, but if one existed, I'd be down to whatever. So that was kind of the light bulb moment. Gerald reached out to me and was like, yo, what do you think about for this last mix? Somehow Wu-Tang and jazz. And at first I was like, I have no idea what that would sound like, but the concept sounds dope. So, give me some time to figure out what that would be. In my mind, I already kind of knew like this ain't gonna be ready
right
for this event, like everything else I could just throw together. I was like, nah. So 2 weeks later, like I don't even know if this was like even on time for the event. I mean, I already know like the mix was not done for the event. The event happened, and then the mixtape was done 4 months later. But I at least got one song together. And in my mind, I just saw everything. I just initially thought of like a blend, it's like, all right, if there's Wu-Tang and jazz, I'm not going to, I don't feel like, I mean, one is tough, Wu-Tang more so has a lot of heavy soul samples that RZA took. So he wasn't as, I'd say he didn't sample jazz at all, but like that definitely was like a small percentage of like the production for Wu-Tang. So I was like, well, maybe I could blend some of the lyrics with something. So it started with this Gennaro Jarrell track where he flipped Pharoah Sanders, and always loved the track. And for some reason that just came to my mind. And then I took the acapella from Cream, used them together, and that was the first track. So I sent that to Gerald and I was like, hey, this is the direction I'm leaning.
And then to take it into a performative space, like you said you didn't see this coming. And I know like it felt like at some point y'all were like, wow, we were just playing around. Like, when did you know that this was going to be, okay, this is part of my next, creative iteration?
It's interesting because that, like I said, it just started with the kind of the mixtape thing. And a lot of it was in terms of what we just ended up doing. to kind of keep the ball rolling. That's something Gerald, always kind of throw out there. It's like, yeah, just, what else can we do to kind of keep the ball rolling with this and keep a buzz going. And everything up to that point was, or everything we started doing was just what we felt like we would naturally do anyways in these scenarios. So it was really a lot of that. It was like, well, let's just kind of continue pushing this in the way that we would push anything else that we've done up to that point. And so it was it wasn't really until like maybe a year later that for me it was kind of like, all right, this is something that is more than just, it's much more than just the mixtape, and we could actually like really do much more with this. Because to be honest, like I'm thoroughly at the point now where like SHAOLIN Jazz is like number one for me in terms of like just things to do and focus on, and just DJing regularly is actually takes a back seat to that to me at this point. But yeah, it was really about a year into it, and really a year into it was by then we were, again, went from just the mixtape to like a year later we had a second EP project. We dropped the Gil Scott Suite. We had been invited to speak to a class at Temple University, and then that kind of spawned this lecture series we created. We had a series of visual artwork that was created by brother Neocon. We were doing, we did a few listening parties. We started, making clothes available, to print the order. So it's just all this stuff just kind of like, just happened. In our minds, all we wanted to do was just like, all right, we drop the dope mixtape, but how can we get people to still like care about it 3-4 months from now? And so, that we were just kind of thinking of stuff just on the, I won't say on the fly, but it was just like, hey, well, why don't we do maybe this next? And you're right. When you talk about Gerald is always thinking of like 10, 15 different things. That's the other big part of it is like he would, and sometimes, and it's funny, like, us going back and forth as we're like brainstorming. There are times where we have to really talk through things. So Gerald might pitch something where at first I'm kind of like, man, I don't know. And then an hour later in the conversation, I'll come back like, all right, I get it. All right, let's try, or vice versa. We do that all the time. Like it's, I'm like, losing my cool half the way through the conversation. Like, man, I don't think you understand, blah, blah, blah. And then a half hour later, like, okay, I see that. That might be a good idea. Let's do it. So Gerald's always thinking a lot of stuff. And that's where kind of some of the extra ideas kept coming up. The visual stuff that was created beyond that, we did an album cover contest, graphic design contest. That was Gerald's idea, and I'm thinking like, who's gonna like make the time to like do it, flip our cover, and then do it online or whatever. And so, but we tried it. We were happy to we literally said he said like, have 3 people try this. It's worked a while. Right. We ended up having exactly 37 submissions, which was weird because that was 37 was in the title of the mixtape. So I was like, that's crazy. And then no submissions were from DC. They were from all over the world. So that was an extra part too. Like, yo, this thing is really kind of serious. Like, I've never had anything or released anything, been a part of a project that's gotten this much kind of attention this far out. So that's really, and the listening parties too. I mean, we had done events for a number of years, but like something that was like, that we created, that was like at the center of like what people were coming to check out. And then, here was it, the one at DC was such a good time. It was packed in there. And then we did one in New York. And I think what helped us out too was like NPR on their website did a post, did a write up about our first single. And then, mentioned that we had a listening party coming. So we got to New York, like that was insane. I mean, it was packed there too, all these people. And so yeah, it like I said, in the moment, it was just kind of like, all right, let's just keep pushing. But definitely about a year into it, it's kind of like, all right, we got some, and we're finding ways also to like, get paid for some of these engagements. Right. It's all off a mixtape, this is still great.
I So I think we're all at the age now where we are thinking about what the next iteration of our creative thing is going to be. And at the same, and when you do that, you have to kind of look back and see what you've done.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember my mother, I joke about this all the time. I remember my dad, I have Nigerian parents, for those who don't know, who are new to this. And so remember my dad pulling me to the side and saying, "Your mother is saying you're dressing like an artist. What's going on?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" You know, I was totally into like British pop and like, you know, underground soul. And I was doing all this stuff. And artist was never something that I saw in myself. But my mother was concerned based on the way I was dressing that I could become an artist, which in a Nigerian household at that time was the worst thing you could do. Outside to sell drugs. It was like an artist. Like, what are you talking about? But when I look at my life now, I see it. Like I see how, yes, this is where I was going to end up. And I wonder for you all, or for you in particular, like you came to DC from Charlotte, which already has its own interesting little vibe. And you know, you were like, "What did you think? I'm just gonna spin some records, hang out a little bit." Like, I mean, what did you think you would? What was your original plan for DC?
I mean, I was still trying to figure things out, and school was really what brought me to DC, first and foremost. And it's interesting having my mom on here because I'm curious to see what she would say in terms of when I was younger. I mean, I think my mom, it was safe to say that my parents definitely recognized an interest in music to it, in some kind of way, because I used to play drums growing up. Did jazz band, did marching band, I was on the drum line in Morehouse.
I was a dancer.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, marching band life. But also in high school, I had a band. I played drums for a live band. I had a friend who played guitar, and then we had a couple guys who rhymed, sang. We won some talent shows, so we thought we were hot stuff. So there was always that. But the weird thing was I never. It's interesting. So to be honest, I never really was fully confident. Had like 100% confidence in some of the music stuff I was doing growing up. Drums, I was definitely driven to drum. Like I knew I was driven to drums and just rhythm. And that's it sounds like my dad's listening to. Hey, Dad.
That is a good thing. I love when parents listen. That just gets me. I don't know. It gets me hyped.
But yeah. So I was kind of driven to that, and I was a hit. Ninth grade is when hip hop really kind of hit me in the chest. And it started with actually like seeing one of my friends freestyle for the first time, and I never that concept was foreign to me, like somebody doing it on the spot. But here we are, waiting for geometry class to start, and my friends at the door rapping about people as they walk by, and then what the teacher, rest in peace, Mr. Butler, my geometry teacher, but what he was wearing with his Coke bottle glasses and stuff like that. So yeah, that's that's kind of when I was definitely like became a head through high school, collected Source magazines, all that. But I just didn't know, part of me didn't really see what I was doing, I guess, with like the band stuff and all that. I didn't really see it, going on the next level kind of thing. And I still just kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. I went down to Morehouse for school, and that's when I kind of really started, being exposed to even more kind of artists and MCs and stuff like that. So that was a great, just kind of like period of time where I felt like I just learned a lot more, but still, again, didn't see myself as an artist. And it wasn't until I moved up to DC for grad school. That's why I came to DC, is go to GW. It was during that time that I had interest in this, but I never tried it. But I finally decided to try DJing only as a hobby, and not really just I want to get some turntables and just try on my own. And I just want to do this for myself. So just kind of private about it. So yeah, got turntables, started just I basically taught myself in between the 4 or 5 hours of reading and studying I had to do every night to keep up with my grad school studies.
Right.
And then just I started just, bit by bit doing a few little gigs here and there, whether on campus or some other friends. And that, I would say, within just, a short amount of time, that's where like my confidence in something, kicked in, where I was kind of like, I know I want to keep doing this. Still didn't know exactly where it would take me, but it was just like I feel like I'm really actually pretty good at this. And so yeah, that's kind of where it really started for me, where that idea of like, yeah, I'm gonna really still do something with music in some capacity, but I never, again, in hindsight, I never knew I'd be DJing.
Right.
But yeah, now it's the thing, that I will say over the years, it's the thing I've been the most confident about when I'm behind the turntables.
Look, I have gotten into many a fight about who the DJs of DC are, and your name always comes up. Shout out to Derek Brown. He's like, it's too tall. Like we
and Derek's a little, I don't say biased, but Derek and I both alum of the same high school. So high school and middle school. Yeah. So Derek and I go back, before I've known Derek actually like almost a good 7-8 years. No, I mean, shoot, more than 10 years before either one of us were in DC. We used to go to like 4-H camp together, summer camp and all that. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
little dance battles in like in middle school and high school. Yeah. Derek's my dude. Yeah.
I love it. I would love to have you two interview each other. I think that would be such a cool that would be such a cool conversation. I mean, the thing of it is that when I think about my creative community, I don't think any of us thought that this is what our lives would look like. I remember somebody asking me once, I had done an event and she was like, so realistically, how much longer do you think you're going to keep doing this? And I was like, I don't understand the question.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like throwing parties when you're 60? I was like, if everybody can DJ, probably. Like, why not?
It's funny you bring that up because I actually have had somebody ask me like, yeah, so you plan to, DJ your whole life or whatnot? And it's a thing where, yeah, you don't think about it because it's almost like asking somebody like, hey, you're going to be a funny person,
right,
all your life. Like, you're going to be the funny person in the group all your life. Like, I didn't like just turn it on. It's just something that I'm just drawn to, drawn to. So it's not like a job, like, yeah, you're going to be in construction forever. I don't clock in, clock out of this kind of thing. But then now, I can say like, my response to that is like, well, yeah, when we finally see DJ Jazzy Jeff retire, and somebody else who's been doing it far longer than me, they're still doing it and still, like all the OGs that are around still do it, so I can't see any of them not doing it until, the last day on earth. So,
I told Rome that, that we'll be in the nursing home, like fighting each other and like throwing parties and such. Like that's the plan, like in the nursing home, bopping it out because it is part of who we are. And, it's at some point you get a rhythm. So 10 years later, like 9 years into it, you got a rhythm and you guys had already expanded. Like it went from audio to this amazing experience with film. And I was like, again, what is going on in this man's head?
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I went to one of your Can I Kick It's and I was like, hey, this is brilliant.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, what? I gotta shout you out. I don't know if you recall this, but like our first Can I Kick It, our pilot Can I Kick It was with you at Cause Cause Philanthropy.
Oh my God, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yes, that was our very first ever time trying Can I Kick It, and I think we had maybe recently talked about, I can't remember which came first. If you approached this about like just being there that night and then we thought of it, or I think I think around the same time, Gerald and I just happened to be talking. And I think I came to him on some like, hey man, it'd be cool to some kind of way do something with like old Kung Fu flicks and then like playing with old movies, but like playing to the movie. I just remember saying that like, I know we've all been in like so many different like venues and places where, just for a visual aesthetic. They play
Yes.
movies, on the screen, and the DJ's spinning, but he or she's not
Right.
spinning
Right.
to the movie. But I was like, but what if they were though? This random was like, what if they were? And that really kind of was like the idea. And but then the funny part of it is now looking back at it, the first movie we did wasn't the actual kung fu flick; it was a blaxploitation flick.
Yeah.
It was Three the Hard Way. So Jim Kelly, shouts out. We did have our kung fu from Jim Kelly. A lot of shadow boxing going on there. Nobody actually got hurt. But that was like our first time trying it. And I remember it was just like, it might have been on that. I know it was like 2 floors. So where we were streaming at, might have been like all of like 5 people total, including us watching it, which is cool. But I think when we got through the whole movie, I remember kind of looking at each other like, yeah, this is actually kind of cool. I definitely want to do this again, So that's
next thing you know, I mean,
Freedom Plaza.
Right. It's like, let's do it outside for 6 months. And I'm there with my lawn chair, like, let's do this. I'm so incredibly proud of you all, because I think that particularly in DC, I think it's hard to stay moving, because DC is not, I don't think it's kind to our type of artistry. I think everything is it's like you have to like do backflips and pretzel yourself to impress anybody, because everybody's so not impressed. They're so busy trying not to be impressed that sometimes you're like, well, is this thing on? Like, are y'all even paying attention? And I just love that you all. What I love the bro relationship, because I do think that that's one of the elements of the SHAOLIN Jazz that I absolutely love, that you guys aren't doing it individually, that you're doing it together, because you have a soundboard and someone who's like, yeah, we're doing this, and you have skill sets that really blend well together, so that listen, I think the first time I came to the Can I Kick It on the Plaza, I was done. I want to just lay on the ground, because I was so like proud and overwhelmed that like this is super dope. This is super dope. So the partnership, I think, is a big part of the magic that I think is SHAOLIN Jazz. Had you ever worked with someone like in that kind of way before, where you guys were creatively linked?
No, not. I mean, I can always, look back at like, friends from high school that I was did music with, and no, those are, that's family, close friends, but that, that a lot of that kind of had its time and moment. I'm still, interacting with some of them, throwing out ideas of things to do, but just in terms of just from day one, hit the ground running kind of thing. Gerald, it's just kind of even weird to me thinking about again how our relationships just kind of started with the going right into events, because I almost remember meeting Gerald. He was working his at the time, one of his kind of side jobs or part-time jobs, I think, was American Eagle in Georgetown.
I did not know he did.
He worked in retail. Yeah.
I had no idea.
And Gerald does have a clothing background too,
right.
Urban urban wear, but again, just my friend that I knew from college, also from back in Charlotte, while he was at Frank, and he had never met Gerald. He just only interacted with him a few times over the phone, and he was like, yo, there's this guy in DC that I sometimes talk to on the phone. I know he handles some distribution stuff for Frank. I feel like you should probably reach out to him. He might be a good dude for you to know. And my friend has this uncanny ability to like link me with people that have become lifelong friends. So this was like one of the first. We met. I think I gave Gerald, I handed him like a mix tape or something I put together. And Gerald, I think even just in that same moment of like meeting, he was like, well, yo, I'm every now and then I do these little pop-up events at he's like, oh yeah, I got this one coming up at and I remember this spot, Penang Malaysian Cuisine.
Yes, Penang. Shout out to Penang.
Shout out to Penang.
Taking me back. Taking me back.
Yeah. The weird thing is, as many times I've been in Penang, I don't actually think I even ever had the food there. But
The
shouts out
pineapple fried rice was my thing. Whenever I
okay.
went, that's what I would get. It was in a pineapple shell. It was fantastic. I
It
loved it.
always smelled great, yeah, and they always had folks in there eating. But yeah, Gerald, I think was doing did a few pop up kind of art exhibition kind of things there. And I think, timing just kind of worked out. He's like, yeah, this DJ I sometimes work with or have it spin there. He just moved to New York or whatever. And he was like, yeah, if you're down, man, maybe come spin. And I want to say he like asked me before he even heard my mix.
Right.
And yeah, came out, spun, and I'm just playing all hip hop stuff, and Gerald was digging it too, and he was like, "Yeah, man, this is cool." I was like, "Yeah, this was, man. Let's do this again." So, so we even soon after that talked about like, "Hey, let's keep doing this." I know he kind of started on his own first, but I was like, "Let's keep doing this pop up art thing." And Gerald had more of the connections, some of the artists, and I would just come and spin. So we did as much we could do at Penang. I remember the not the owner, but the general, head manager at the time, for some reason had a crush on like their resident DJ. So instead of giving us a month slot, just one day a month to do this, have some consistency, she kept, blocking us from that. I was like, well, no, kind of like this other guy, and and gave him literally all the other days of the week, every week as a residency for this one DJ that played like techno and trance that, people would literally be walking out when they would come in. But so yeah, started there, and then we finally, kind of found a home, our very first like real home, good old Common Share. And that was recipe, shouts out to Common Share. But that's when we started doing our arts and crafts kind of monthly pop-up art series. And yeah, that's really that span of time is really what like cemented our relationship, like just as friends, just as guys working together, and then just really us trying things that we just felt gravitated towards just based on our affinity of like hip-hop and art and visuals. So we were just kind of naturally we're just kind of into a lot of the same stuff. So that's really where it came from, was just that time working together. But there's been no one else that I could say I've had this deep of relationship with and have done even a fraction of what we've done together. But yeah, we got history together now, officially.
I mean, there is a legacy within the DC sort of, I call us the cool kids art scene, where it's like these Black folks who are super Black and super free, and they just do whatever makes sense to them.
Yeah.
And, if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. Because with the kind of things that you all were doing originally, there was definitely an audience, but it was a small audience, just because that's what happens, and it's hard. Like, it's when you find a venue that's willing to support you, to let you figure it out. That's really when you can thrive as an artist. And I always think of Scott and Marvin, because if Sheldon had said, "Hey, y'all, come do this, and I'm gonna hold everybody back. You do your thing. Let's just see what happens," Marvin would not have become the thing that it became.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, shout out to Sheldon too, because he was the one who, when we once we started doing Can I Kick It, beyond that night at the Cause spot, when we decided like, yo, let's try this, we of course were like, we need to find a venue that has a screen. And so yeah, Marvin was like, oh man, that back room in Marvin would be perfect. So shouts out to Sheldon for making that hookup. And shouts out to Sheldon and the staff that would be there, kind of working, because outside of them, we actually didn't get a whole lot of love at Marvin. So there's a reason why we stopped doing it there, kind of for that. But shouts out to Sheldon for at least getting us in the door.
Yeah.
For that.
People, I keep saying, I don't know if it's a documentary, but one day I feel like we're going to have a big old tea session.
Yeah.
Talk about what really happened behind the scenes, because people don't understand like the stuff that we had to deal with, with in general, when venues are not, because they only like your Blackness to show up one way. And when it
Yep.
shows up differently and like, you know, it's not rah-rah and it's not spending a bunch of money and it's just like, yo, I just want to come in and catch a vibe, it's a problem. And so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we definitely have our stories, and again, the reason why certain events that we've done, the reason why they did not stay at places for don't want to go too hard on, but again, Penang could have been a lasting space, but I guess again, what we were doing was just not, and them making more money, I guess, was not important enough.
no, clearly, because there were nights I was coming there, I'm like, you people are not serious. So that's like out. And it was a beautiful spot, but then it had that grease fire, I think, and I was like,
yeah, it just didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, for me, if nothing else, it was a great, for me, first kind of venue that I was like there a handful of times. But yeah, for me, it Common Share, I just love being there just because like the staff was so cool and down to earth. That was my introduction to the homie Sekou, for the folks that know.
yes. Sekou. That's what I was like, who was it? It was Sekou, yes.
Sekou was there, yeah. But then also I got to shout this venue out too. And this is a space that we did some events at, even outside of SHAOLIN Jazz. But the Blue Room, back when it was the Blue Room, shouts out to my man Steve. And I was just telling somebody this the other day. I was like, that was actually like my favorite kind of resident venue, just because like genuinely just like so nice and welcoming and supportive of things. I mean, they let us really try some cool, off the wall stuff. Blue Room, and
that room was, first of all, let's talk about how we would cram up in there. Like,
I loved it. Yeah, it was
insane. And I can't remember what it was that you guys had done, but I remember coming, and because they used to have the DJ booth up in like the little like coupe area.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are we in here like this? It was so flat. And I think I was next to Roddy Rod, and he had to put his arm out so like.
It was some of the DJ Villa DJ parties.
Yeah. Listen, loved it.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I think back to the way we would literally force ourselves into spaces, it was amazing. It was amazing. And again, when you have venue owners that were like, yo, just do you. And there were no expectations. Some of the best nights, Blue Room, Common Share. There was, what was that spot that was on off of Florida? It was in Adams Morgan, but like off the beaten path. You know what I'm talking about.
Wait, not is it Chicha or no?
No, not Chicha. And Chicha was disappointing. I loved that space, but they were like, no.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was like, can we? They were like, no. They look at you and like, no.
I know I'm sure it's same story in a lot of different cities too. But that just always was mind boggling to me. It's like, yo, we're bringing people, which seems like money and like. Come on,
how many people and how much money? And I'm like, going on a Tuesday night? Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Like, how many people are you bringing as the DJ? Like, well, it's not like I'm. If I had a huge following coming everywhere, I wouldn't be asking you to come here. I'd already be somewhere else, staying there all the time with the hundreds of people that you're hoping that I bring.
And you, considering you only have 5 in here now, I don't understand what the problem is.
Yeah. In 25 better than 5, something. Let's start. Let's build.
Yeah. And you all have done it. And it's such a, I just like it when people win, because I know how hard it is to get there. You know what I'm saying? So get to that point where you're like throwing things on the plaza. Like, I mean, some of us were like, yo, by this time we would be on the plaza watching films.
Yeah. That's crazy to think about. I mean, we I'll say this too about even getting to that point. When we were doing these, when we first kind of had a residency going with Can I Kick It, and starting off at Marvin, we got to the point where we, maybe been, done it maybe a good 6-7 times. And to see like the numbers, in my mind, I'm just like, yo, this event's so dope, concept so dope. I can only see this like going up, going up from here. And it's still, go through a span of almost like a year. And it's just like, still the numbers aren't really, it's like, oh, it's still kind of lighting up in here. And like, man, I thought this would have been the one to bring people louder, this and that.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, despite the numbers, I think Gerald sensed it too, but I was just, as we were doing, I was like, this still to me is just such a dope concept. And like, I don't want to stop trying. Like, I just want to let's keep going. So, things kind of, when we found, again, things and, completely work out at Marvin. And I think that was, I'm happy it worked out that way, because that's when we then just, linked up with Songbird, and that just kind of worked out perfectly. Randomly, one of the owners happened to reach out to me through my SoundCloud page. I randomly was looking and I see a message. It's like, hey, I know, actually, I forget something about Underdog. Shouts out to Underdog, but I think he had maybe referenced how to get in touch with me through SoundCloud or something. But he was just like, hey man, dig what you do, and would love to, talk, see if you want to maybe come over here and spend one of these days. And I would say this too, and again, you've been around enough DJs and events and things like that. For someone to say this was like the most magical DJ request I'd ever gotten.
Right.
Because for them to say, and this, I think I followed up, I was on the phone with them, and they were like, look, so we would love for you to come and maybe DJ over here one night. We have some openings on weekends, like Fridays and Saturdays. And I'm like, hey, word. All right, all right, Adams Morgan, Friday or Saturday, like, let me get a Saturday. And they're like, all right, cool. And then these next two things were just where it just like, I almost did a backflip with the phone. They were like, one is like, look, so if you don't mind, we prefer that you not really play a lot of radio stuff. We just want to hear good music. I was just
like your head
okay. What? On a weekend? I'm thinking do you know how the rest of your business owners think about a weekend night? Okay. And then when this was the extra icing on top, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, this thrown out or offered in Adams Morgan at that. They're like, oh yeah, and by the way, we actually have a parking spot out back behind the venue.
I had never heard that ever.
I was like, I have parking secured on a weekend in Adams Morgan.
And I can play what I want.
I
I would have passed out right on the phone. They would have had to revive me. It's too much.
So that was like that right there. Just kind of like, yeah, we need to start doing stuff over there. So
and really shout out to Songbird, because Allison, right? That's one of the
Alicia. Yeah, Alicia.
We did we created it, Gerald and I did an alternative New Year's Eve party there.
I remember that.
Right. Yeah, that was so much fun. And working with her, I was blown at how much they were willing to do. Because normally you have to do all of the things. And they were like, we're in this together, and let's talk it through. And I was like, who are you people? What is
that Alicia's unique in that Alicia's so hands-on in DIY. And I think a lot of that is just a background of knowing how to do, carpentry stuff to whatever types of stuff. She built out.
She's like, yeah, I built this out. I was like, girl, you She's like, yeah, I put that in. I was like, yeah, I'm totally digging you. It was, it's one of those things that when artists and creators are given the tools that they need, because that New Year's Eve party was so much fun. We had such a good time. And the whole point was you could, if you wanted to color or watch a movie, or we took that space and turned it into all of these things, because she was like, yeah, do whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, for us, it was the same thing with Can I Kick It? It was, we told her about, I reached out, I was like, hey, we were doing this over here, and we love to find a new home. And she was like, yo, I love the idea, love the concept. Yeah, come over, let's meet, let's figure out how we can make this work. And yeah, just the amount that she invested time and physically and all that was more than any it's almost unheard of to deal with it.
And on top of that, they promoted it, and I was like,
yes, yeah, they'll do
the venue is promoting. Listen,
yeah. So it's cool, because it's kind of they're truly venue owners who we did this as fans of
Yeah.
art and music and culture, like,
Right.
and once I'm like, oh, what if we had a space where we could do this, or
Right.
like this could be a home to this kind of stuff. So, you know, they even talk, you know, we even talked, you know, years later, and you know, Alicia's even said, she's like, I've always wanted like a unique, cool kind of event series that went on, you know, that was something somewhat local, but just different
Mhm.
that people come to. She's like, and Can I Kick It is like exactly it. She's like, I
Right.
could not have thought of any, you know, anything I enjoy more that she's like, you know, I love all the other, like when we get the rock bands in and hip hop acts and this and that, but she's like, it's something that's just different to house here. So it went from, you know, we first met. I don't know if you know, for me, you know, as you familiar with the space, when you first walk in, the DJ booth is right
Right.
there, and there's like
Right.
just a kind of a brick wall.
Right.
And at first it was just a brick wall there.
Right.
And then she was like, well, we do have this projector that can like project on this wall, but you know, the detail of the visual is a little iffy because it's just kind of the brick wall is also like, you know, half cement broken up
Right.
and blah, blah, blah. So she was like, but you know, we could maybe hang a sheet or something. I was thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, maybe we could get a sheet, hang it. She was like, you know what? I'll yeah, I'll hang it. But then like the next after we did it the first time, she was like, oh, I got this idea of getting like a shower curtain kind of thing.
Right.
And then I can just like have this stick and just kind of pull the curtain over. And then we have our, you know, so that we're set for each time you come back. Cause she was already thinking like, yeah, this could be a regular thing. So it went from pinning a sheet up to then like, and she was the one, of course, put up the whole, you know,
Right.
she put it, yeah, she's like, oh, I'll put it together. To then maybe like, you know, we are not even a year into it. They invested in a full drop down,
Yeah.
automatic drop down screen. And then even went further and just kind of figured out, even tried to like rewire most of the sound in the whole venue to be able to run the audio so and the visual so that not only was it on the screen, but they could try to get on the TVs
Yep.
to downstairs. So they've done a whole lot to like really invest time wise and energy wise into like making sure we have all that we need to make this happen. So yeah, shouts to them. But it was definitely that time at Songbird as we kind of did it more and more and expanded there that yeah, I started to get more even hype about like, man, you know, this we could really do something with this. And then yeah, lo and behold, one day I remember telling Gerald randomly, like, hey man, like it'd be dope to do this outdoor on a big screen one day.
Right.
And
Catch what you call in.
Yeah, literally a year later, downtown DC.
Amazing. And the thing of it, what I love about the Can I Kick It series is that I've always wondered, like, how much do you study the movie? Like, what's the preparation for the scoring that you do? Because I'll never forget, I was in Songbird, and I don't remember what movie it was, but it was a black man karate, super gorgeous afro. They were in California.
Okay, it might have been Black Belt Jones.
It was Black Belt Jones.
Yeah.
It was Black Belt Jones, and there was a situation where one of the guys crawls up the telephone pole and cuts the arm. And you play that little clip of Mr. Telephone Man, and I was like, what is happening in his head? It was so, I mean, and the thing is, you're watching this movie because of the way visuals have been used in, like, you know, creative in those spaces as sort of a backdrop. Like, you're fully engaged. Like, I was fully invested in the movie. And the soundtrack just helped, like, it just made sense. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, take me through this. Like, what does it look like for you to prepare for a movie? Because it's seamless.
It now, you know, most of it just kind of, I would say, comes naturally, but yeah, I kind of gotten used to this, the flow of, you know, pulling music and making it work for the movie. But I would say it's about when I first started off, it's about a full week long process to you know, just really what I do is I'll watch the movie like once just to kind of, you know, get refamiliarize myself with it and like the scenes too. It's more of like getting the gist of like what scene comes next, what comes next. And then it's just I just kind of go like one scene at a time. I just I'll start kind of pulling music to the side that in my mind sounds like it could work with various moments in the movie, or like just has a feel similar to like the style and the pace of the movie. So I'll randomly pull music like that first, but then I'll just kind of go with each scene. And my goal is always just to I'm trying to match. I guess if I had to break it down, I really never thought about it like this, but like I'm trying to match like the feel of the scene with the music, and then and if possible content. So if I could find a song that like, or a track and the title of the song itself, or if you know the song, or if you hear the lyrics, like what they're talking about, just happens to like reference what you're seeing in the scene too. So there being that kind of connection. But it's a combination of that and just like the feel of the energy of the music, and like the feel and the energy of what's happening each scene. So yeah, just kind of like, I'm also into comedy stuff. Like, when it comes to watching movies, I'm really always only interested in either it has to be an action film or comedy, or both. But like comedy is just definitely something that is ingrained in me. Like I'm just a fan, and I see the humor in a lot of things. So yeah, that part of it too. I didn't really intend for like the humorous stuff at first, but it just started happening. And partly, I think a big part of it is like the movies kind of like made me do it, because
the movies made me do it.
The movies made me do it. Yeah, the movies make me do it because I guess here's one thing to think about, like, is the fact that we started with these like at the core we're doing all these like old school films that are made in like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, at that as well. And we've gotten so far forward that like when you go back and watch some of these films, you're like, man, what was the society was different, or was accepting of some things that we were not accepted to do.
There was a scene in Black Belt Jones, and I was like, ooh, this is
yeah,
this is language. Yeah. And so it's I love that you don't hide it, or you don't like censor it out, because I think it's important for the film to be as it was. But it does. We have come a very long way in terms of in society.
Yeah. I mean, even Black Belt Jones is a great example, because there's a scene where the woman, I forget the actress's name.
I know. I know exactly the scene you're talking about.
Who's actually the first Black Bond, African American Bond girl as well. But I remember there's a scene where she was asked to go to where the hideout of the bad guys was,
right?
And then the young boy who was supposed to watch over. He was like, yeah, you're not supposed to go, or else I get in trouble. And then when she said this line, this was very telling the times.
Right.
It's like, well, well, what do you think I can do? I'm only a woman. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You are only a woman. And it was just like, what the hell did they just say?
So many moments I was like, oh my God, like this actually passed for okay.
Yeah. But but they did play off of that in the film too, because she was intentionally trying to give them impression. They're like, oh yeah, I'm just dainty, I'm a woman, what can I do? And she went down the bar and kicked everybody's butt, took out all the guys.
I mean, this is the beauty of, and I think that's, as someone who's like an archivist and who thinks that, we shouldn't forget, that's one of the other aspects of Can I Kick It that I really like, that you're kind of creating sort of like a running list of history, because you're showing us cinematically, particularly where Black people have shown up in some of these things, outside of the Blaxploitation time. Like, it's always a lot of fun. And, you have an audience that adores you, and we are really just hoping that maybe, I don't know, this year outside.
I can't give you the unofficial, I can't give you the official word on it, but let's say there's just a very good chance we might be seeing people in person this summer in DC. Outdoors. Yeah. Very, very, very good chance.
I love it. Mm-hmm. How has the pivot been for you? Like, what has it been like because you all pivoted, I thought, really good. I mean, I know, the virtual space, a lot of people were going there, but I do think that the way you pivoted, it was really dope, considering we all can't be in the same space.
Yeah, it was. I got a shout out to you for coming up on about a full year, because that's pretty much same for us as well. We I want to say did our first virtual movie. I think like towards the end, mid part of end of April last year. And yeah, this was it's funny because Gerald came to me with the idea of like I think this was, let's say this was like early February, and Gerald was like, hey man, considering some of this stuff that's like, with the COVID, we're seeing more about it on the news and everything. And he was like, yo, what do you think about maybe trying to figure out how we can do some stuff online or whatnot? Now, at the time, nothing had really officially been shut down yet. So I wasn't a true, I didn't think, like a lot of people just like, oh man, this ain't gonna
blow over.
And we had, and yeah, Gerald will tell you this too, if he's on the line. We had so much lined up for 2020. It was like, 2020 was going to be, if had stayed on pace, was going to be our biggest year for Can I Kick It in terms of like the cities that we were already like.
I know. I was like,
we were almost like signed off on like two of our biggest contracts too for films. For actually, we were going to like double the amount of films we did in New York, and in other places. So we were getting ready for this, big year. And so yeah, Gerald was like, yeah, what do you think about that? And I was like, whatever. Like, nah, we ain't got to, man. This is gonna blow over, whatever. And then maybe a month later, I hit him back. It's like, yes, let's figure this thing out, man, because it's not looking too good. So I'm glad, and that's the thing, I love Gerald for this. Like he's always like, always just keeps digging, and throwing stuff out. Let's just see what sticks. Let's see what works. And so yeah, we started doing the research. Shouts out to my man Gadget. I think I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I need help trying to figure out how I can do a virtual kind of setup. And with our setup too, it's it's unique in terms of how we run audio for our movies. And so whenever we do, whether outdoor, indoor setting, we always have to. The way we run the audio is we always have the movie audio running directly to the turntables. I control the volume of the movie and the music at the same time, and then it all kind of goes out from there. So it was, the virtual thing was still also tricky figuring that out, because it's like, well, how can we show a film on the screen, but the audio is still coming to me first and then back, So yeah, shouts out my man Gadget. He was like, yo, check out this program called OBS. It was before, I was hearing anybody speak about it, before it was really becoming a standard. But yeah, got hit to it kind of early, figured it out, and we just started from there. We wanted to start off treading lightly as well, because the whole streaming space, also with like movies and the rights to movies and things like
it's tricky.
So yeah, it's pretty tricky. But yeah, so we start off light. We didn't want to do too many big films to like bring too much unwanted attention. So we're like, yeah, let's start off with like some random, like the original Street Fighter movie from back in the day, or I think we eventually decided to do Black Belt Jones and Cleopatra Jones and some other stuff. So yeah, it actually, of course, we didn't, when we first started, we had no idea how long we were going to be doing it. But just once we started going, getting it going, and just, seeing the people that were actually tuning in and joining. Shouts out again to my parents. Like, it was great for them to be able to tune in each time. And then my sister and brother-in-law and nephew and everybody, and they're all down in North Carolina. So it just really meant a lot over to, as we kept doing more and more. It's just like, yo, it's great that my family and friends can like all check this out. The ones that are physically not not in the same city or region, and so that was cool. And then I think what's also picked up even more over time as we've done this is like what's really, I think, further represents the energy from the people that are watching is like the chat room in Twitch. When we're doing it like that, becomes a whole other vibe in the chat room, because that same level of, as you were saying before, like going back and watching these films and noticing these differences in terms of like the time period and fashion, whatever else, like what I would, a lot of times I'm, when we're doing these movies, I'm thinking to myself, man, it'd be great to like be able to talk on the mic and like you know, because for me, there's a lot of things that, again, I do see that
Right.
are funny. I'm like, I would love to like comment on that, you know, and bring that up. But like, it's great to have a chat room where people are doing it, you know, doing it there and just and joking and having fun. So it just adds an extra element. But it's been just really cool that we've been able to like find a space to keep doing this. Not only just to kind of keep ourselves like keep us going, but still find ways to kind of even still expand the, you know, the reach. So
Yeah. That's the part that I think is really dope because, again, people that normally wouldn't be able to see it now can kind of get a feel for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we have gone way past time.
Sorry, gang.
No, listen, this was such a fun conversation. Thank you so very much for sitting in.
Yeah.
I'll have to do one with Gerald so we can like bring it
Yeah.
all. But
yeah.
What are you looking forward to once we are able to like be out? What's like the first thing you think you're gonna do?
I mean, you know, of course, it's just ready to do a movie. That's like I said, I've gotten to the point. It's weird. Like I lose no sleep over not doing any regular DJ sets.
Right.
Not as often, and so this is kind of what for me, what I'm just more passionate about is just doing the movies and other kind of engagements too. But the movies is kind of just where now I think most of my I'm that renewed confidence in terms of something that I'm doing that's new. But just looking forward to like being in person so I can actually like see and hear the responses in real time.
Yeah.
I miss the laughs when we're indoors or outdoors. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, we're there's a good chance, I can't officially announce it, but again, really good chance that we're gonna be in front of some bodies outdoors this summer. And hint might be for more than just 6 weeks too, which is kind of cool. So
listen,
yeah.
I gotta talk to you because I'm working on something where I need to make sure our dates are. We can.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll talk.
Yeah. Fun times.
Yeah.
This is good. Like it was a little break. It was just a little year off for everybody. But I think now what comes from this is, I just think we're better.
Yeah. I think it's stuff like this. I think I don't know, in a weird way, moments like these kind of happen or have happened where like the world kind of has to stop and pivot in certain kind of ways, whether it's after the riots, 68 and all the other stuff,
right.
to further back to like after the war, after slavery, there's going to be just all these just different moments in time where there's going to be a shift in how we move forward, I would say. So this is kind of been an interesting year in that. But I think I will say, even speaking with a lot of my other DJ colleagues, like even once all the restrictions are lifted and everybody's able to do things in full again, like virtual stuff is here to stay.
Absolutely.
So we definitely see that, and we want to try to be mindful of how we can kind of still take advantage of that as we move forward. But one thing I definitely gotta, Gerald will kill me if I don't say this and plug this, and I'll beat myself up.
Because I was like, we both about to up, so go ahead.
I know, yeah. So what I'm also very much looking forward to in the very immediate future, tonight at midnight, we're dropping in commemoration of our 10 years of SHAOLIN Jazz and 10 years since our first mixtape, we're dropping a new EP project called Sensei Q. And this is dedicated to the man who I think is the greatest music producer in the history of mankind, woman and mankind, Quincy Jones. So it's a cool just kind of EP project. And personally too, and Gerald and I talk more about this moving forward, but I feel like I've finally kind of like exhausted all the Wu-Tang acappellas that I've had access to. So this might be, we might be putting the brakes on the Wu-Tang acappellas after this project for a little bit. But this is a really cool project where not only, looking at Quincy Jones, but more specifically, this actually like we're highlighting or really focusing on his film score and soundtrack work. So this is not,
Yeah.
Quincy's done so much. I'd be too overwhelmed to like really dig into everything. So this is, before the Michael, stuff, before, outside of the solo projects and his work with the brothers Johnson to Tevin Campbell.
There's some whiz in there.
There's a little bit of whiz in there. So, but yeah, as Gerald and I were kind of talking about, doing this project, and I was really kind of the one kind of pushing more and more. Actually, I would say, Can I Kick It really helped kind of push me in the direction of this concept, because from doing a lot of the movies, I've also been, I've also dug a lot for like older soundtracks and film scores, and I incorporate a lot of that music in the films that we do. But I've discovered just kind of doing, all these downloads and research, Quincy Jones, definitely for like a long span of time, hands down, one of the most accomplished films, scoring producers and composers ever. I know there's other names like, what was that guy's name? Who did the like the Superman theme, John Williams, and some other people. Like Quincy Jones is up there. Like, I mean, he's done over like 25 different film scores and soundtracks. There were some years where he released 4 to 5 soundtracks in one year.
So we're gonna have to come back and do a proper.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, we got this a whole.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm so intrigued by it.
Because now I'm excited to listen, and then we're gonna come back. And actually, I know exactly where we're gonna have this conversation, so get ready.
Okay. But yeah, please, check it out at midnight. SHAOLINJazz.bandcamp.com. We'll have it's a 5-track EP. Again, sampling taken from some of Quincy's soundtracks. Added a few little cinematic little interludes and things like that there too, with the Wu. But yeah, really, really cool project. And yeah, we did, I had to figure out a way to do something from the Wiz. So, I
mean, listen,
that's
throw my shoe at you if there was no Wiz in there. If I listen to this and there's no Wiz, I'm going to have a problem. So I appreciate you for understanding those of us who, are Wiz that needed to happen. Well, this has been like so much fun. And I'm sad that we have to go, but you got a whole Sunday to get to.
Yeah, got a whole Sunday.
Shout out to the parentals for listening in. Shout out to Lamika and Hadia and Miriam and Corinne. It's nice to see you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey to Jay, I got to get you on.
Wazio, what's up, brother?
Wazio, we need to have, we're birthday twins, so I need to. Same day, December 20th. So we definitely need to bring him into the loop. But this has been great. I really appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Yeah. It's great seeing you just chopping it up too. It's been a minute.
Final question. Are we keeping the COVID hair? I'm just asking. No pressure.
So
we love you anyway.
Chances are my plan is probably around my birthday is when it's going to be time to go. My goal was just to get, after a while, which I didn't think it was going to be that long, but yeah, after a while I was like, let me just get through a full year. When else am I going to have the opportunity to let my hair grow out and not, and know that, my job can't fire me at all or say anything. Because what are they going to say? Like, you need to get to the barbershop. You need to risk your life and go to the barbershop,
Right.
Or find somebody on, anybody around you to catch a hit, So yeah, I just wanted to get a full year in. But yeah, COVID hair gotta at some point gotta go. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I got my photos. Yeah, I got plenty of photos.
We'll remember, because the salt and pepper fro is giving me life. It's fantastic. So fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we are out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Next week is Zoe. So we'll have Zoe on.
Yeah. Zoe. Yes.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna be talking about the new project, Abstraction, and I'm getting his business too, because that's what I like to do. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. And remember, be out there, get out there, and we're out because this culture ain't gonna make itself. Take care.